Hi, welcome to Beyond the Classroom. My name is Dr. Michael Burer. I'm Dean of Faculty at Dallas Theological Seminary, and I get to work with some of the best faculty in the world. So we're going to use this podcast to meet some of them, and today we have Dr. Linda Liu. Ni hao, Dr. Liu.
Ni hao.
Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Glad to be here. Dr. Liu is an assistant professor of Old Testament studies, and we were just reflecting on how she's relatively new, and this is one of the first times we've gotten to sit down and talk together. So I'm really thankful for the time today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, just some neat information you'd like us to know.
Okay, yeah, like you said, I'm Linda Liu. I was born and raised in mainland China, and where I also received my formal education throughout undergraduate level, and during my college years, and also the years after that, I became actively involved with various ministries, and so then later, prior coming to DTS for the further theological education, I was serving as a teacher in the East Asia area, and where I also met my dear husband. So that's really exciting. And then later, after we got married, and he enrolled at DTS as well, and he is currently working on his second degree.
Oh,
so
very good.
So we both like camping and outdoor hiking stuff. So that's really fun.
Oh, very cool. You said you were a teacher. What subjects did you teach?
I was teaching English and some of the Bible courses, and also biblical languages as well.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. Well, one of the things that we have in common, obviously, as faculty, is we love the Lord Jesus. So tell us how you came to faith. How did you get introduced to our Savior?
Yeah, I was blessed to grow up in a Christian family, and my mom became the very first believer in our whole family when I was still a baby. So for me, from a very young age, I was basically immersed in the church life, attending Sunday services and small groups and the prayer meetings even at a very regular basis. So then I really enjoyed that a lot. And then, but for my mom was especially diligent in teaching us Bible stories and also helping us to understand sin through the lenses of 10 Commandments. So then, but the significant turning point for me occurred when I was about 5 years old. So at my grandmother's funeral, I initially refused to participate in ancestor worship. That was a big thing in China. And then, because I knew it was not the right thing to do as a Christian, but this really made my aunt mad, and so she was displeased really bad. And then under pressure and also out of fear, I eventually gave in, but later deeply really convicted afterwards. So then I confessed my sin with my mom, and she was a little bit surprised at first, but she got to learn the stories, and then led me in a prayer asking for God's forgiveness. And so then it was at that moment then I experienced great peace in my heart, and also then came to the personal realization of this God is not just my mom's God, or not just the God that's worshipped at a church building, with a lot of people, but He was my very God. And then Christ died for my sins personally. So that was a very touching and important moment for me, as I saved by realized
absolutely.
my personal relationship with God.
Yeah, as a 5-year-old young girl.
Well, that's why my mom got so surprised. What? Are you sure you're not sinned against God? So, but it's quite fascinating.
Yeah, that's a beautiful story. My wife and I volunteer regularly with the children's ministry at our church, and that's just a wonderful testimony how the Lord is concerned even for young children to come to know Him. So that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Now tell us how you came to DTS. You were a student here, now you're a faculty member. Tell us about that pathway.
Yeah, I first learned about DTS from my late mentor, Dr. Glenn Riddle, and he was a missionary in East Asia, and also he He was a DTS grad in the late 70s. So under his mentorship, I studied elementary Greek and Hebrew. And so it was during that time I developed really a deep appreciation of the biblical languages. So then, so he often expressed his hope that one day I would be able to, attend DTS and as a student. But it seems unlikely at that time. But he dreamed really big and he prayed faithfully. So by God's grace and what seems unlikely became a reality, because a few years later, I found myself sitting in the very classroom at the chapel he once attended. So it was really fascinating moment for me. I was deeply moved by the way God orchestrated that journey. So it's really cool. And also, but with that said, I initially came to DTS for my THM degree, but God just had a different plan. So he redirected my path and toward to doctoral studies. So which led me to the teaching position here at DTS, which I would never have imagined, but it's how God just led me that way.
That's wonderful. It's neat to hear how your mentor had a vision for you and prayed for you, and here you are. That's great. That's wonderful. Now, tell us about your current academic interests. You are a professor in our Old Testament Studies department. So, what kind of things do you work on?
Okay, my dissertation research focused on the verbal system and discourse analysis of the selective prophetic oracles in the minor prophets. So it like integrates Hebrew linguistics, discourse analysis, form criticism with exegetical methodologies. So then it has shaped my ongoing research academic interests. So then so I really hope that my contribution will be contribute to the exegetical skill development for my students, whether in the Chinese program or English program. So and also for the field as well.
Okay. So, now you've used some terms that are fairly technical that some of our listeners may not understand. So verbal system would be the way the Hebrew verb works, the stems and things of that nature. And discourse analysis would be how the author uses those in a particular pattern or something to that effect. And then you worked specifically in the minor prophets, you said? Okay, great.
So that's basically for the minor prophets books. So,
So I know that you work a lot with teaching the first year Hebrew. So how has your research kind of helped you teach that class? What has it taught you that's enabled you to be a better teacher?
So because I was like working for the Hebrew linguistics for the verbal system. So it's kind of like for me to see how those verbs like work consistently, whether it doesn't, in spite of genres, like it's like a narrative or prophetic literature or psalms or poetic stuff. So that's like really helped me to see how this verb system works within the whole Old Testament, and then helping to explain that to my students even from a very early point.
Okay, very good. That's a great example of how the technical research can really help you in the classroom, even if it's not a direct relationship. So now tell us about some projects you're working on. Anything that you're fun that you're writing in terms of your specialty and your research interests?
Yeah, I'm currently involved with several projects actually in both Chinese and English. And one of the main projects I was working on is a collaborative textbook titled Reading Biblical Hebrew Introduction to Genres, because I used to translate the grammar into Chinese, but this is the second year Hebrew student textbook. So we aimed for that. And this also, this is kind of like a textbook aimed for the second year Hebrew students, but I also working co-authoring with conference paper with my dissertation supervisor, and now he is my colleague. So it's hard to believe it's still hard to believe that we are colleagues. But anyhow, so this paper is on the time reference in the substantival participles as respected in the multi-step descriptions. So that paper was basically help us to see the different verbs, how that works as well. So, and also for the Chinese side, our team is going to develop project on the from calling to ministry. And so then we want to use this as a resource, like a biblical, theological, and practical resource for a broader Chinese-speaking Christian communities. So that's really help them to see calling and the ministry and for their ministry formation.
Okay. Well, you're doing exactly what we want faculty to do. You have your expertise. You're working in that. You mentioned even a textbook, but you're also serving the church, the Chinese church, with this other project. So that's really, really exciting stuff. Tell me about your church that you attend in the area.
Oh, yeah. My husband and I are part of a bilingual church, and with both Chinese and English congregation, while my primary ministry involvement is with the Chinese congregation. But I occasionally work with the English side as well if they have a need. So my main ministry is teaching, so including like adult Sunday school, and a small group Bible study, small Bible study groups, and the ladies group. But I do assist with other ministry as well, like a worship team. I'm not a trained singer, but if there's a need, I will step in that role.
Oh, that's good. I didn't know that about you. So you like to get up and sing. That's awesome.
And also I also help with the caring team as well.
Okay, that's great. It sounds like it's a really rich life at the local church.
Yeah,
so,
quite.
All right, now tell me something fun that you're reading right now. As professors, we read all the time. So what's something fun you're really enjoying?
Yeah, I think for fun, it's like sometimes, it's overlap with my academic interest, right? Because we find like enjoyment and joy and like a fun within the academic researching projects. So that's really closely tied to what I'm researching and writing at the moment. But I do read like other Christian literatures and even secular novels for fun. Recently I have been reading a classic Japanese novel, authored by, I think his name is Nasumi Soseki. It's an old novel and titled I Am a Cat. So I'm not a cat person at all. I'm not a cat person. But I found the book really interesting and fascinating because it talks about the Japanese society from the eyes of a cat and observing the upper middle class intellectuals and how they, play their roles in the society. So it's really, really a fun book, but a very old one. I think over a century old.
That's fascinating. I might have to get that title from you because that sounds like it would be a very interesting thing to read. So, hey, to kind of close out our time together, what's the most rewarding thing about being a professor for you?
One of the most fulfilling aspects for me is witnessing the transformation in my students. What I mean by that is they're from confusion to clarity. So because working alongside them as they wrestle with the Hebrew language and eventually they grasp the complexity of the language itself. So this aha moment, like a positive face to, I see, those moments are really incredibly rewarding for me. And also because with the online and hybrid platforms. So I find myself I have the privilege to reach out students globally. Literally, I have students in places like Canada, Europe, Asia, Middle East, and some are even in Australia. So it's really kind of like reaching out to that, like with theological education, is incredibly meaningful for me, and knowing that our work has a kingdom impact globally, and so that was one of the greatest joy of this calling.
Yeah, that's great. I share that with you as well. So, Dr. Liu, thank you so much for joining me today. I really enjoyed getting to speak with you. It's been a real fun time, and thank you all for joining us today as well at Beyond the Classroom. If you'd like to learn about Dr. Liu or any of our other professors, please go to dts.edu.